Mary had always dismissed religion with a smirk. An intelligent, self-assured agnostic in her mid-30s, she believed in what she could see, touch, and prove. And the idea of a rapture, people vanishing into the skies at the blast of a heavenly trumpet. Absurd. Nothing more than a fantasy spun by desperate minds. Her neighbor Julia, however, was a different story. A warm-hearted African-American woman with a quiet strength, Julia had been born into a large family of 8, 2 brothers, 3 sisters, and herself, the youngest. Mary often overheard Julia praying, fervently, passionately, sometimes with tears, always with hope. One phrase she repeated stuck with Mary more than she'd admit. "Lord, please, when you come, may none in my Father's house be left behind." Mary found it touching, even noble, but still naive, or so she thought. Then came the night. It began like any other. Mary drifted off to sleep amid the gentle hum of her ceiling fan, unaware that she was about to be plunged into a vision so vivid, so terrifying, it would change her forever. She dreamed. It started subtly. A slow, surreal montage of Julia's family appeared, one after another, living wild, carnal lives. Parties, scandals, fashion obsessions, ruthless ambition. They were immersed in the world, tangled in its pleasures and pride. Then, flash! The entire atmosphere shifted. Without warning, the scenes reappeared, but now each sibling was in a different setting. Bedrooms, living rooms, garages, all on their knees, tears streaming down their faces, calling on Jesus. They were praying, earnestly, broken, transformed. It was as though an invisible hand had pulled them from darkness into light. Mary stood in the dream, stunned, trying to understand the sudden shift, when a deafening trumpet blast split the heavens. Boom! It wasn't just a sound, it was a force. Windows rattled, the skies opened in fire. Light burst through the clouds with blinding intensity. In an instant, Julia and her entire family vanished. Only their clothes remained, falling gently to the floor like silk in a breeze. The world erupted into chaos. Mary's dream spun into a global nightmare. Drivers disappeared mid-turn, leaving cars to crash. Pilots vanished, sending planes plummeting. Hospitals overflowed with hysteria. Screams echoed in every language. Newscasters froze live on air, unable to process the madness unfolding behind them. The word rapture flashed on breaking news banners. People who had once mocked God were now weeping, clawing the ground, begging for second chances. And Mary, still standing in that dream, understood with chilling clarity. It had happened. The rapture she had scoffed at had come, and she had been left behind. She tried to run, to breathe, but the weight of the revelation crushed her. Her knees buckled, her soul screamed. As her consciousness began to collapse under the shock, another flash of light appeared. Softer this time, warm and glorious. Julia and her family reappeared, radiant, clothed in robes of light. They were together, rejoicing, embracing, tears of relief and joy pouring freely. They stood before Jesus himself, majestic, merciful. Julia fell to her knees in the dream and whispered with trembling gratitude, "You heard my prayer. You saved them all." The vision faded. Mary awoke with a scream. Her sheets were soaked in sweat, her breath coming in desperate gasps. It was still night, but everything had changed. Without thinking, she leapt from her bed, barefoot, and ran across the street to Julia's house. Her fists pounded the door again and again until it swung open. Julia stood there, groggy and concerned. But the moment Mary saw her, the weight of it all overcame her. Mary collapsed. It took over 2 hours for her to be revived. Julia, confused but calm, stayed by her side, gently wiping her forehead and praying quietly. When Mary finally opened her eyes, tears flowed uncontrollably. She recounted every detail of the dream, trembling with each word. Then she dropped to her knees. "Julia," she sobbed, "please, pray for me, just like you prayed for your family." Julia's own eyes welled with tears as she knelt beside her. Together, they prayed, a prayer soaked in sincerity, redemption, and new beginnings. From that day on, Mary was transformed. The woman who once laughed at the rapture now lived in holy anticipation of it. With a Bible in her hand and a fire in her heart, she began sharing her dream with anyone who would listen. On street corners, at work, with family and friends. She pleaded, warned, and encouraged. "I saw it," she'd say. "It's not a myth. It's mercy. Get ready." And every time she remembered Julia's dream-born celebration with her family before Jesus, Mary's voice would tremble with hope, not fear, because now she too was ready, and she was making sure others would be.